Hey everyone, and welcome to Elsewhere in the Multiverse, the comic book podcast from Melfuzz TV. I am Peter, and over on the other side of the screen is Connor.
I just want everyone to know it only took Peter 2 attempts this week to get this intro done, not 3. So, improvement.
I think you were almost hoping I'd mess it up again, just so
I
that you
was
could
a
say
little
it was,
bit.
just so you could say it was 3 again. But no, you had to give me the compliment of saying no, it's an improvement.
Yeah,
So here
but
we
I
are.
mean, but I still wanted to highlight you screwed it up once first.
Yeah, well, what they don't know won't hurt them.
Yeah, well, now they know.
So you're the cruel one then. That's the thing.
Yeah,
You're the cruel
yeah.
one. So we talk about comics on this show, not DC Comics, because DC Comics have their own show. We started that a long time ago. It's called Comics from the Multiverse, and we do that every week with Matt, and it is our DC Comics show. You can go check that out on the YouTube page, of course, but also on the audio feed for Comics from the Multiverse. This is our show where we talk about other comic books. We talk about Marvel, we talk about Dark Horse, Image, all that kind of thing. Whatever we happen to have been reading. It's a bit more free range because of that. Although I think this week we actually both read the exact same books, which isn't always true.
This might be the first time in quite a while.
Yes. And you did technically have a Star Wars book that you could have read this week, so
I did, but I ran out of time
that's fine.
because I had like 3 issues of it to read and work.
I genuinely have no problem with not having to listen to a Star Wars comic talk.
Yeah. It's coming back.
I mean,
It's coming back in force, don't worry.
if you wanted to quit all Star Wars books on the show, I would be more than happy to facilitate
The
that.
people like Star Wars. They like hearing about it.
There's at least one person I know of for sure, but other than that,
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
think
That is more people who have said they don't. Therefore, the people like it.
so. You've heard them, people. A few people. All we need is 2 people saying they don't want to hear it. That's all we need.
I mean, I'm not saying I'll listen. I will
Just
defy
need
the will
2.
of the people if I have to.
Just need 2. But yeah, so coming up on this week's show, we have Age of X-Man Alpha, issue 1, Amazing Spider-Man, issue 14, Captain America, number 7, West Coast Avengers, number 7. Only 4 Marvel books. I mean, it's a week 5, I guess, so I suppose that adds up. Then we also have Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, issue 1, Skyward, issue 10, and Quantum Age, number 6. Although, really, that's going to be the whole thing, for the most part, because we both just read the whole 6-issue series
But
for this week.
6 came out this week.
Yes. So despite the fact that it looks like a quiet week, we both actually had like over 10 issues to read because Quantum Age was all 6 issues. so it was actually a heavy week of reading. There was just not of releases, but that's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're talking about. There was just one briefest of brief news things to mention first.
Is it a delay?
It is a delay.
Of course. Do you know what? I don't even think I've seen this. I'm just used to it being delays.
I want you to guess what's been delayed.
Is it a slot book?
That's incorrect. It's 2 slot books.
So both Iron Man and Fantastic Four delayed again.
Fantastic Four issue 9, which was supposed to be out. Oh, what does it say? I doesn't actually say the original date. You could work it out, I suppose, but it's been pushed back 5 weeks.
Oof, that book is painful.
Sorry. That's Fantastic Four number 9 has been pushed back 3 weeks to April 24th. Iron Man 11, however, has been pushed back 5 weeks to May 22nd. The reason why I swapped them there is because Newsarama, for some reason, in the paragraph, have them in a different order than the solicitation text that they've got underneath it.
Dick bags.
So I naturally thought Fantastic Four would be first in the paragraph, given
No,
that.
Fantastic. I don't. I'm gonna double check when that first issue was because
It was August, I'm sure it was.
You think?
I think it was August. I seem to recall it being hyped up for August.
I assumed it was earlier than that, given how long it's taken. But I mean, you could be right. I'm gonna double check because screw it. And I'm not gonna say something incorrectly. That would be disingenuous of me. And would I do something like that? All right, it was right at the start of August, first week of August. So
that doesn't make you any less wrong.
No. But I'm saying you were right. That's fine.
Yes.
So issue 9 is coming out in April.
Mm-hmm.
And this has double shipped a couple of things, right? I think.
Not really.
They're not double shipped the first couple.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was always meant to be monthly. I think issues 5 and 6 were quite close together, but I think that was just because
There was a big delay So yeah, so we skipped October entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Which probably hurt, but I mean that was, and it was like from then it went from the beginning of September to right towards the end of November. So that was a pretty significant delay, after 2 issues. And then that's the wedding special. That doesn't count. Yeah.
That's
So
why you.
it,
That's why you probably thought in your head it double shipped at some point was the wedding special.
yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. It was that. And then it did have an oversized issue, right?
Yeah. The wedding
Yeah.
one after that was oversized.
Yeah. But I mean, it feels slow going with all these delays.
Then Iron Man delayed as well. 5 weeks for this one to May, which means that must have been early April's issue. So I assume it's just skipping April now.
Must be.
Yeah, makes some sense. That's weird. I feel like that's multiple issues of both of these in a row that have been delayed.
I'm always torn on delays because ultimately, in the long run, it works out well. In the sense that, yeah, when you come to read this year's down the line, whatever, there's, okay, this is the artist, it's exact, or whatever it was, this is how it was intended. It's there. But reading it monthly, it really kills my enthusiasm when it gets this significant. When it's just there's a handful of books that can rise above that. But for most books, it's tough.
It's weird because I think for something like Doomsday Clock, I would say there's an argument to be said they should have just held off, had some in the bank, and started releasing it later. You can't really do that with an ongoing like this though, especially when it's going to be lining up with other things at some point, and there's all these things going on.
Yeah.
So that's,
and I think the difference is Doomsday Clock, I'm a little bit more forgiving of, in that each issue feels monumental, like an event, right?
Sure, I just use that as an example because it's something that's had delays recently. It's been
it is.
There's been many, but
it is. But whereas this, okay, it's your monthly book. It's just like, yeah, okay, it's just the next issue, right? And often just a single issue can sometimes not be that satisfying, in the overall story, depending on which issue you get. Especially, I mean, so I feel like I can feel the delays hurt a lot more in a book like that.
Yeah, okay.
Where I can be waiting 2 months and then I get an issue that's just it was a fine issue, but then okay, was it really worth the 2 month wait?
So, but that was it. That's all the news. Just some delays. But hey, it is what it is. So, quicker intro this week, I guess. Not as much to rabble on about.
No. Pretty small week actually in general.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of Super Bowl spots for movies, but nothing.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them.
I watched the Avengers one. It was fine. It's just a quick tease, not really showing you much, as they shouldn't be. Quite frankly, hold it all back.
Yeah.
Mystique.
Yeah.
What a single frame of that movie past the first 20 minutes. Not a single frame.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No, they may actually do it with this one. I'm pretty sure the Russos claimed that they weren't going to show anything in any trailers. It was beyond the first act, at least, I think they said.
Claimed. I don't know if I believe them. I don't know. I'm not watching the trailers. What do I know?
I feel like if there was one movie that was going to stick to that, it potentially could be this one.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just because of the premise of what's going on and because of how the last one ended. And let's be honest, they don't have to show anything. They can literally just show a black screen with the logo and some music playing, and people are still going to go and see it when it comes out.
Yeah, probably.
It doesn't matter what they show, unless they showed something that looked really bad. But I mean, even then, I don't know if that hurt.
That's an argument to not show anything, isn't it?
I mean, but even then, would seeing a really bad clip actually stop people from going? I have to imagine the impact would be extremely minimal.
I have to imagine it would stop some people from going.
Yes, minimal.
Yeah.
It'll make 1.7 billion instead of 2 billion, maybe.
Yeah, that'll hurt them.
Oh yeah, sure. They're shaking in the boots.
Oh, they want the 2 billion.
Yeah. Actually, I saw a headline. I don't even know what website it was. I saw a headline today. I was just browsing Twitter. I don't know. I never clicked on the article.
Stupid, like, if it doesn't make this much, it's a failure.
No. It wasn't specific to the Avengers. It was Wolverine will probably be recast for the MCU, and I'm like, No shit. Why is that a headline? What?
Will probably be Well, yeah, I could have told you that 2 years ago.
I mean, not only does it make sense that we're not keeping anyone from the current X-Men movies, except maybe Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, because Deadpool's kind of a weird thing.
You would get away with it, right?
Yeah. Everything else, like, we'd expect it anyway. But not only that, Hugh Jackman kind of had like a farewell where he said it was his last one. The movie was kind of a definitive ending for the character. It was the best one as well. It was like this swan song that you couldn't have asked for more. Like, there was no way. I mean, maybe they could have tempted him, but I'll say this: if they had tempted Hugh Jackman to show up as Wolverine in the MCU for like one movie, I would have said it was a mistake, because it would be a one and done, and they'd have to like fix it afterwards or recast anyway. So you might as well just do it fresh when everything's changing.
I know, I agree.
So
I do hope they keep Deadpool as it is, though, just so you can have all the
meta jokes.
The meta jokes of, oh hey, they recast.
Yeah, or even just him acknowledging that he's in the MCU now. Oh, this is weird. We might see Avengers this time. You know, all that kind of stuff.
I think there's fun in that.
Yeah. I'm not even a big Deadpool fan, but just on the principle of what that character is, it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
So yeah, that's what it is. All right. Well, we'll talk about books then. We'll get into books. So we have Age of X-Men Alpha issue 1 starting off. This is the issue that sets up all of the miniseries that are coming, of which there is 6. Which I know because the last page of one of the last pages of the book is like, here's all the books coming.
Yes, so we know there's at least 6 because it's next Age of X-Men.
I'm pretty sure that's all 6.
All right.
I'm fairly certain that's all 6. That'd be really dirty if there was like 6 and then there's another 4 that are starting the following month.
I wouldn't put it past them.
But I'm pretty sure that all these are starting this month anyway. I think it's...
All right, fair enough then.
They're spreading out. So we're in Age of X-Men, which I guess is kind of like a happy version of Age of Apocalypse, at least to a point. Obviously, there's some kind of like relationships seem to be outlawed, at least amongst the X-Men, and there's like an SS that are kind of clamping down on that, and it kind of sets up. I will admit, I did feel a little bit advertised too when like every like couple of scenes there was a little annotation saying, oh, find out what happens with this character in this miniseries. Find out what happens with this character in this book.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that going on.
There was a lot of that.
There were 6 of them specifically because there's 6 books coming.
There probably was one for every book.
Yes. And it's a world where everyone's become a mutant, and we see people using their powers for everyday things. Colossus has lost an arm.
Yeah.
As a whole thing. Yes. Which, actually, I want to say, was that a thing in Age of Apocalypse? I never read Age of Apocalypse, but for some reason, him not having an arm doesn't seem like a new thing. I feel like I've encountered or heard of him not having an arm before.
I'll take your word for it.
People in the comments, you can fill me in. Where's this armless Colossus?
I'm pretty sure I own Age of Apocalypse on Comixology. I just never read it.
I have the first, because it's like the complete thing is like 4 giant books.
Yeah, I think I have all of them and just never touched it.
As you do.
It was a sale at some point.
Yeah. So X-Men's on the main team of X-Men here with Jean Grey, and Magneto's there, and Storm and Colossus. It's relatively standard team. I don't know why I'm saying Storm, and Magneto I guess is kind of is an outlier, as is X-Men. But it's a typical X-Men scene that you see all the time. They go and rescue a new mutant, which seems to be a normal thing now in this world, and they bring the mutant back, and they introduce her to the school the Angel runs, this orphanage essentially, where they teach everyone ethics and powers. So yeah, the first example of here, find out what happens to this guy. It's like Glob is literally just standing over to the side doing something, and the panels just kind of go over to him, and he doesn't really even say anything. It just it goes up to a close up in his eye and it says, "What's on Glob's mind? Find out in Next Gen issue 1." Thanks for that.
Yeah. What was the point of this scene?
I guess you could argue the point is to establish where all of the branches of this mini event, if you want to call it that, are connecting. So they have to establish that he's at the school. I guess.
Sure.
It's thin. Like, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm saying it's that's all I can give you.
Yeah. All right.
I'll
let it slide. I got nothing better.
It's thin. But yeah. So Bishop and Jean Grey are at it, and it is noticed by X-Man. which leads to the Gestapo.
Yes.
Well, I think they're called the Extremists was the right name. Although that wasn't quite next. We actually cut away from the sex scene to Nightcrawler, who's a movie star now.
Yes, he is doing like sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, and it sets up that he's the Amazing Nightcrawler issue 1, which is apparently going to be him being a celebrity, him being a movie star.
Apparently.
I like Nightcrawler. I don't know if I care about a miniseries about him in a fake world being a movie star.
I think I don't care about any of these. I'm not gonna lie. This issue was like, okay, it's not giving me a reason to want to read any of these minis.
That's fair. Do you know what? It's not necessarily dissuading me either. It's in this weird apathetic middle ground where I'm like, okay, none of these seem necessarily bad, but I am getting this vague impression that, you know, when this is all finished and they're back in the main, like, you know, world and timeline, that none of this is really going to matter that much, if at all.
No, I didn't really care about anything that was going on in this issue, right?
Yeah.
In terms of where they all are, because it doesn't matter, and it feels like that. It feels like they wanted to get rid of them for the story's sake, for what they're going to do in Uncanny with Cyclops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they went, well, we can't go 6 months without having any of these characters, so let's just flood them with a bunch of minis.
I feel like the only thing that might be relevant at the end of this is if they all remember all this, maybe there'll be some character beats that might be important for them later. But at the very least, I expect maybe the ending with whatever ends this with X-Man might be something that's referenced a lot afterwards in the main book. That is the best I can assume.
Maybe, yeah.
The actual specifics of the plot feel kind of inconsequential. So the Extremists show up, which again says, you know, find out more about the Extremists and, you know, the Extremists miniseries. Yeah. And they basically kidnap, I say kidnap, they arrest Bishop, essentially, and put him to the prison, which eventually we get the tease later on of Prisoner X. You know, that's where he's going. That's the book, which the cover at the end had, like, Beast was on that cover as well. So there's a few other prisoners. He's not alone.
There's Beast. I assume the green hair chick is Polaris.
Probably. That makes sense.
Not familiar with the other two.
No. The ending is basically the resistance that's rising, the love propaganda is coming from Apocalypse. Apocalypse is like this hero, like, leader who's inspiring the love resistance.
Yeah. The extreme hippie love cover for Apocalypse and the Extracts issue 1. Give me a mild chuckle.
Yeah, that's kind of amusing. Yeah.
It's just so out of what you'd expect for Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating read because this does feel like it's kind of like how we never even tried to catch up on all the Infinity stuff that was happening, you know, over the last few months when we were starting this show, because we just kind of feel like, oh, it's a separate little thing with lots of tie-ins that doesn't really matter. And this feels like it's kind of gearing up to be the next one of those.
Yeah. It
doesn't feel like any of this is that important.
No, I have absolutely no enthusiasm for any of this, though. After before this issue, if you go back to the last couple of episodes, I was like, yeah, I'll try them. We've been liking these characters enough. And now I'm like, I don't care.
The thing is, though, the one thing that could have won this over, 'cause I don't think the writing in this issue was bad. It's just, I think the issue as a whole is just meant to be a platform to set all these things up, so inherently it was never going to be that good.
I think it's a very expensive advert that I had to pay for.
But I think the one thing that would maybe save some of the individual miniseries is if it's just really good writing and good art. Like, you know, does because it depends on who's on the teams. I'd have to look at them again and see who it is. But, you know, do I get a good Elseworlds story essentially? And yes, I used the DC word. I know, sue me. Do I get a good Elseworlds story with some of these characters that's just well written? I don't know, maybe. But I agree that as a whole, this whole X-Man world thing is just kind of like, what are we doing?
It's kind of lost all its appeal, hasn't it?
I don't know if it ever had an appeal, to be honest.
Appeal in the sense of we were following the characters at least.
Sure,
but
yeah.
They don't even seem like they're not themselves, right? They're these different versions of those characters. So
the thing is, see if this was a 6-issue miniseries, I'd be willing to try issue 2 and see where it goes, right? But it's not. It's like 6 4-issue miniseries.
Yeah,
or
that's a
something
lot.
like that. It's like so many books. And honestly, like, the only reason why I'm tempted to even try the first issues of the minis is purely because we do this show. If I didn't, I'd look at this and go, this is a money sink. I don't know if I want to touch any of this.
I'm not sure I want to even for this show. It'll very much depend on how I feel each week. And, like...
I have to laugh though, because we were saying how, okay, Uncanny X-Men was weekly for those first 10 issues, right? And then we joked that the first week that it didn't have an issue, the annual was out, so it was still kind of weekly. And then the next week, the next regular issue is not out yet because it's a week 5, but they do this Age of X-Men thing, which follows on from the plot of Uncanny X-Men. And then I have to laugh again because starting next week, or at least in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be multiple issues related to that Uncanny X-Men arc out every week.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see. Next week has an Age of X-Men and an Uncanny.
There you go.
Isn't
there also Uncanny X-Men Winter's End next week? What's that? Is that tying into everything else?
I have no idea. I don't remember what that one is, to be quite honest.
We'll have to double check that when we're looking at books. And then the week after that has an Age of X-Men plus... Oh, it doesn't have anything. It's just Age of X-Men. That's a light week. There's only one Uncanny X-Men related book next week.
I'm looking up this Winter's End. Iceman and the X-Men get a special visitor from the future.
That sounds like just a standalone annual style story to me.
It does. It's not written by any of the regular writers.
Yeah, depending on time, that's probably a skip, that one. Yeah.
It is basically weekly though. If you between Uncanny and then the Age of X-Men thing,
it's more than weekly. By the time you get to March, there's like 2 Age of X-Mans and an Uncanny in some weeks.
Oh, I didn't get that far. Oh God.
Yeah, you've got a 20th of March. You've got Uncanny X-Men 14 plus Age of X-Men Amazing Nightcrawler 2 plus Age of X-Men Next Gen 2. There's 3 of them that week.
On top of everything else. I don't want to read these.
I don't know. And that's a busy week as well. I'm looking at the rest of that week. There's a lot going on. So, yeah, I feel like these Age of X-Men books probably aren't going to be read by us.
No, it's a shame because this was its chance, right, to sell us on the concept of what these books were. And instead, they kind of just gave me an expensive advert of, hey, this'll happen. Hey, you want to know about this? Go read that.
This felt like just kind of corporate Marvel. This is what it felt like. I didn't feel like I was reading a story.
No, not at all.
I felt like I was here's all these things you can go buy. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll try the first of the minis, but I'm not promising anything.
We'll see how we feel.
The quiet weeks. I mean, the good thing is we don't have to read these until almost the new books come out. So if something gets good buzz...
We'll know.
Yeah, we'll know. We can actually pay attention and see if something actually has been received well, and then jump in maybe. But
I mean, when's the first one of these? Is it next week?
Yeah, next week.
I mean, next week's not a quiet week. There's like a couple of other issue ones that I'm seeing in there.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
We might, but don't hold your breath. Maybe I'll take one for the team. Maybe I won't.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we should. I mean, the art is.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with the art. Nothing was sticking out to me as.
It wasn't massively appealing either, at least not to me. But it was fine. It was serviceable.
Yeah, it was okay. All right. What are you rating it?
I give it a 4.
I agree. Yeah, no,
it's
4
like
out of 10.
The writing itself is average, but then it insults me by just being adverts.
Yeah, no, 4 out of 10 for me as well. It's not the worst crafted comic ever, but like it is just a bit of a sham, quite frankly.
Yeah,
a bit of a sham. All right, so we'll move on to Amazing Spider-Man number 14 then. Nick Spencer writing, Chris Bachalo on the art. Did I say who did the last book? I don't think I did. Age of X-Men Alpha, for the record, was Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson with art by Ramon Rosanas. But yeah, so that's Nick Spencer and Chris Bachalo on, or is it Bachalo?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I say Bachalo. I don't know if that's from Scottish though, and I assume that's a.
I also assume the K.
Yeah, the hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Amazing Spider-Man 14, start of a new arc. So this do you know it's always funny because I like Bachalo's art, right? But I do think he's much better when it's Spider-Man in costume than he is with like regular people having conversations. And unfortunately, a lot of this issue is regular people having conversations.
Yeah, I struggled with this because I don't even like his art that much, even when it's in costume. I agree that it's better the stuff in costume.
No, I like Spider-Man costume. Although that's it, there was one really bad panel with Rhino, which I thought was really bad face-wise. But
no, I'm not a fan of his art at all. I never have been. I've tried it. I've tried a few books with him on before, and I've always struggled. And I found this issue kind of a chore to read because of that.
That's fair. There's a note at the start actually that says this takes place after Miles Morales' Spider-Man issue 3, which, dear listener, you may have noted has not come out yet. So worth mentioning. I guess that's just to explain why Rhino's not doing something else.
I figure it's just to do with Rhino.
Yeah. To be fair though, it's not like it's a completely different direction. He's still kind of being like a team up with Spider-Man, kind of anti-hero right now. He's not.
Yeah.
It's not like we read Miles Morales and then we come to this and it's like no, he's killing people all of a sudden.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't even read that little note, and I just assumed that it was either before or after that. Either way, it didn't really matter too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Craven goes to arcade. I did kind of like some of this opening Craven's arcade stuff where he's on the phone just complaining that no supervillains want to buy classics anymore, like Vats of Acid or Spike ceilings and stuff. I don't know. I got a chuckle out of that. But Craven,
it does a very meta commentary, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Craven wants him to build something just to kind of a tease for the arc. And we have basically Peter and MJ are with Lizard and his family. Lizard had to give his wife and son some lizard serum to keep them alive, so they're green now.
Yeah, that flashback stuff with the muted colors might be even worse with the art.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll be honest. If it wasn't for the fact that MJ has the red hair to really signify them, I would not have assumed that was Peter and MJ because Peter looks like he's 12.
He does, doesn't he?
He looks like he's 12.
There's one panel where he does look like Andrew Garfield. Like
on that page?
Which page are you on?
The flashback page.
The second page of the flashback, where it goes into them all just sitting there eating. It's he's there in the blue shirt. It's like the second row up from the bottom in the middle.
Oh right, yeah. I still think he looks 12 in that.
He does, but he looks like Andrew Garfield.
He looks like 12-year-old Andrew Garfield.
He properly does. He's got the facial structure of him.
But yeah, so basically Lizard's just freaking out at his son because his son wants to go to a normal school, but he's like, no, you can't go because you're not like normal and they'll make fun of you.
It's a bit hackney written, this, isn't it?
I think the problem is that the kid brings up a lot of good points. He's like, yeah, but there's mutants in schools now and there's aliens in schools and no one gives a shit. Why is me being green with a couple of scales much of a problem in this world?
Yeah.
He's all defensive and it says, yeah. So... it's like we get the main scene though, which is kind of Aunt May with the lawyer of old Jameson, who she was married to, that died, and he kind of makes a move on her, and she gets really kind of pissed off. It does reference Friendly Neighborhood. There is a reference to her getting bad news recently, which is nice. But she ends up saving a homeless person outside the restaurant from some basically just punks who want to like make him fight for money, and. Yeah. She offers them dinner and they go back into the restaurant and she buys this homeless guy dinner, and it's kind of just a sweet Aunt May scene. It's Aunt May helping people because it's she's Aunt May. She's basically an angel, which is not a critique. It's just who she is. It's just almost who she is.
It's to be expected.
And Peter and MJ. Peter's basically struggling with the decision to go back into class. He feels kind of weird about it, and MJ points out that like you're in your mid-20s, Peter. Like people in that class will be older than you. You're not going to be the oldest guy there. Which is a normal point. I feel like most college and university classes have a wide range of ages.
I do. When I went, there was a guy who was in his 60s.
Well, I never had that. When I went, I was a little bit older than the others. I think I didn't go straight after high school, but I was still like in my early 20s when I started. But there was a couple of people in their 30s and 40s. Like there was. Yeah. I was still one of the youngins compared to the
comparatively, yeah.
But he's feeling conflicted about going. He's worried that he's going to have to keep making excuses for why he can't be in class because he has to go and save the city because he has to go stop this or that.
Yeah, like it stopped him any time before.
I know. But that's when he sees in the news what's going on at the restaurant. He doesn't know Aunt May's there, but Taskmaster and was it Black Ant? What's he?
Yes.
Have shown up because they're hunting Rhino. Because we know they've been hunting villains because they kidnapped Scorpion last issue. Yeah. And Spider-Man shows up, and I do like the art when Spider-Man's in the suit. I think the playfulness of his art actually does fit Spider-Man to a point.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
I think this is very much a taste thing that I just don't like it. I don't think I can objectively point and go, this is bad. I mean, I can probably say about some specific panels here or there.
What I will say though is the second page after Spider-Man shows up at the restaurant, the second page when he's on Rhino's back. Rhino's face, I mean, I can kind of make out what it's supposed to be when I really think about it.
I was going to say, what face?
Because
it's because
it's like it's looking down at him. That bit's sticking out his nose, and it's like that's the angle it's supposed to be at. But it looks like a mess of shapes.
Yeah,
there's no definition to it.
Yeah, that was one of the images I would go with. That I think is objectively bad. Whereas a lot of it is just taste that I'm not into.
Yeah, but yeah, so they agree to team up because Rhino's been alright. So they team up.
Do you think is Kraven going to hunt Rhino? Because obviously we mentioned last time that it seemed like Kraven was collecting all the animal themed villains.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because they're just putting him in a prison, in a jail cell. I wonder if he's got some big plan about setting them all loose at the same time and hunting them, or presumably something involving Spider-Man.
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Because it's not him hunting them right now. He's essentially, assuming this is him behind this, he's paying other villains to
collect them. Yeah, it's true.
So Black Cat pulls out a giant gun and shoots Rhino, and it looks like he explodes. Although I'm fairly sure he didn't, but that's the cliffhanger. So, so how did you feel overall? I mean, the art obviously pulled it down for you.
Yeah, quite significantly, I'm afraid. There are things I like the stuff with May, but all the stuff with Lizard and that dinner party stuff was a chore. Even in the dialogue, I thought was kind of rough. Like I said, all the stuff with the sun.
Yeah, I agree. That was the weakest section for sure.
Yeah,
I was because one of my complaints of the first arc was that it was a bit too wordy, and I was kind of getting those same feelings during that dinner stuff.
I get that. I can forgive wordy though if it's dialogue I'm enjoying, but this just felt super cliche and kind of pointless. This is easily my least favorite issue of the run so far.
I'd have to think about it. It may be actually, but I'd have to think about it. I can't just say it without looking back at some issues.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's the stuff I like in here though. I'm generally enjoying what it's doing with the overall plot. Like, I'm liking this villain's kidnapping thing. I'm liking that Rhino's the next one they're trying to grab, and now Spider-Man's kind of more in on it, and kind of is presumably will learn a lot about what's going on because of this.
That's usually how these things go.
So, all right then. What are you rating it?
I'm at a 4.5.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be.
I struggled.
No, I'll give it a 6.5. I definitely liked it a bit more than you did. Dinner Scene was definitely the worst, but I like most of the other stuff. So yeah, 6.5.
Fair enough.
That'll take us on to Captain America issue 7. Ta-Nehisi Coates writing with Adam Kubert on art, which we have to address right away. Is this is an artist change? Which, well, Adam Kubert's not a bad artist. I do miss the art from you. I do
as well. But I mean, at least this is it's a start of a new arc.
No, that's true. But I wasn't aware that it was changing. And I saw the name in the cover, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this is going to look different, isn't it?" And then the first couple of pages, I'm like, "This isn't bad by any means," but I'm just sitting going, "I really liked that art before." Like, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's still fine. There are some really good moments in here in the art.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It never quite lives up to you. Don't get me wrong, but
oh, thank you.
Shut up. But like I said, it's a new arc. I kind of just expect that these days.
Yeah, so turns out what Strucker is running this super prison. Where is it? the Myrmidian. Yes.
Yes.
He's running
Myrmidon.
this. Myrmidon. Okay. I think what I said sounded better, but you're right. That's what it probably is. Myrmidon.
Yeah, there's no second eye.
There should be. So
Should have. Do you want to go tell him that?
aye. So it sounds better.
All right.
But yeah, so they're setting up for Cap to become here. So somehow Strucker's going to end up being the warden at the prison that Captain America is going to be in for being suspected of killing General Ross. So the opening scene sets up that, and then it's basically Cap trying to figure out what his options are here, and ultimately coming up kind of short, right? It's like, okay, the killing blow was delivered by some sort of disc-based object. Oh, like a shield, for example.
Isn't that mighty convenient?
Yes. He also has Bucky going around, like, beating criminals up, trying to like find out any intel that he can. And Winter Soldier's going pretty hard here. There's few fight pages with him and some thugs, but he ultimately doesn't, get anything useful out of it.
I will say I did feel that scene was there just so that we could have some action in the book.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And and then ultimately, Sharon like hears there's nothing from Bucky. It's this kind of somber mood where he goes up and like gets his shield out. But essentially it becomes this idea where, okay, like, I don't matter as much anymore, but they're trying to hurt the symbol and what I stood for, and you can't really do that. So the big ending of the issue is that even though he turns himself in, and he's going down to the, to this prison, Nick Fury's there to like take him in, all the rest of it, and they're asking for the shield because it's a potential murder weapon, and he's like, sorry. What was it he said? I think he says he misplaced it.
Yeah, I think it was. He just lost it. Yeah. So where's the shield, Steve?
Yeah,
I lost it.
As you do. But it's basically setting up this team. Sharon takes the shield to the secret area that's got a teleportation disc in it. And who shows up? About something I've never heard of before, by the way. But Spider-Woman, Sue Storm, and a bunch of others show up. Misty Knight's there, are the ones I recognise. Is that Mockingbird at the back?
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know what her suit looks like in the comics actually, but she's got the two sticks in the back, so I'm thinking Mockingbird.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably her.
That even looks like an M on her belt. Yeah.
That the woman on the left, is that the new Valkyrie? She kind of changes into Valkyrie.
I'll take your word for it.
That might be her.
I'll take your word
She
for
looks
it.
vaguely familiar.
Yeah, but this is the Daughters of Liberty. So I have never heard of this concept before, but to its credit, the final page still kind of worked for me. Because I'm like, I recognize a few of these. What's this? I'm like, he's got like a little army building here. What's going on?
I think it lands regardless in the sense that, okay, no, there's a team, right?
Yeah, there's a team who are going to stick up for what Cap stands for, regardless of... if that means, like, it's proving that he's innocent and getting him out, or if it just proves, like, fighting the good fight. I mean, I'm not sure yet, but...
Yeah.
Either way kind of works. I wonder if this is a team that Sharon's ran before. It feels
maybe.
like it makes sense that she would have done.
Yeah, it does.
That should be a new thing, though, for all I know. I mean, I'm assuming this is a return of an old concept.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We have no idea. People in the comments, you can tell us. But no, I mean, for all my disappointment that the art wasn't you again, I did enjoy the issue quite a bit.
I thought Kubert's really good with the facial animation stuff. Mm-hmm. So all the stuff that was just the pair of them conversing was great stuff. I thought that was where it was at its strongest.
Yeah.
And I really like the scene of him questioning, like, okay, can I really be Captain America if I'm constantly fighting what America is kind of, the government, or at least, which is the idea of what America is at the moment.
Yeah, but then Sharon argues, no, you're not fighting for a system or a government, you're fighting for the country. There's a difference. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of exploring, like, is there a difference? And I guess in this case there kind of is, in a weird way, if he believes the government's not acting in its best interests.
Yeah, so. But I can understand his argument of being, well, people voted for this government, therefore that does kind of represent the country, right? So maybe he should, maybe by fighting that, he is kind of anti whatever, the America almost.
It
right?
depends. does the Marvel Universe also have the collage? Because one could argue that the system's rigged and should not be taken as strongly.
I don't know how. I mean, I assume they have the Electoral College as well. I mean, I assume their system's the same.
I'm just saying that there's an argument to be made that, you know, if whoever's in power was in power by a small margin and was only in power because of how the system works, then I've got to say there's room for wiggling here.
Sure.
Room for wiggling.
Sure. It's not the first time, though, is it?
I don't think Cap's standing up for Trump. That's all I'm saying.
Probably not. No, I think he's standing up for the idea of democracy, though.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, so yeah, there was no Power Elite stuff here. Do you know what? I really like the recap pages in Marvel books because I can never remember like some of the newer characters. So I'm like, I was really happy to read. Oh, Power Elite, Alexa Lukin. Yes, I remember these characters and what they were doing in the last issues. But I'm like, okay, I like to, even though they're not in this issue specifically, it's nice to just read their names again and remind myself what they're called. Power Elite, Alexa Lukin is the villains.
Yeah,
and her husband,
I didn't read
Alexander.
it on this issue either. Some books I don't feel like I need to read it, so I don't bother.
I read it anyway, mainly for those sort of details. I mean, I remembered how the last one ended. I remembered where we were in the story, but it's just reaffirming some of those.
Oh, fair.
Those
I get it.
details I
That's
like.
why they're there.
But yeah, so no, I like the issue. I thought it it set up this new idea, this idea of the ideal of Captain America being more important than the person himself. Because I like that he brought up that when Bucky was Cap, they kind of used his past against him, so they're doing something kind of similar to him, but they're kind of having to make up a bad thing because you know he's pretty squeaky clean, you know, outside of being impersonated. Yeah. So that was interesting. What do you give it?
I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's really good.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with the 8 out of 10. It was good. Cap's been very consistent, and I appreciate it.
It has, yeah.
That'll take us on though to West Coast Avengers issue 7. Kelly Thompson writing, Daniele D. Nicuolo on the art. I probably butchered her last name there, but that's okay.
Probably, but I mean, you do it with everyone else, so it's fair.
Yeah, yes. So this wraps up the 2 or 3 issue arc we've had with this the villains in California teaming up to try and take on the West Coast Avengers into this trap in the fairground. And Joe, I think Kelly Thompson's got a great way of doing really predictable things but making them work because there's humor in it. What I'm talking about is that it sets up in somewhere in the middle where someone jokes about, I think it's in an interview towards the end, which we're still doing, by the way, because I think you were theorizing that we'd stopped that.
Yeah, I wondered if we had, but no, it's cool.
But they sort of ask, oh, your ex-boyfriend showed up, Marvel Boy, your mother showed up, anyone else from your past showing up? And she's like, oh god, I hope not, I don't want to start theorizing. And the book ends, the issue literally ends with the leader of the evil villain group being her father. And I laughed, instead of rolling my eyes, I laughed because they set that up as a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, that was really neat, this kind of works. It's got the exact sense of humor to do these kind of things and not have me be like, oh, what's it doing all these cliched things for, stop it. It works. You know, and there was some fun stuff. I liked using the sign language with you know, Man Hawkeye when they were in the cages. I'll just call him. I'll call him Hawkeye. And she uses some sonic arrows to cancel out some of the power dampening effects to get America back up to full power, to get Fuse up to full power, and you know, they fight the villains, and the villains kind of do a runner. Kate does get knocked out from behind, but they do get away, and Gwenpool wants to adopt a baby land shark.
Yeah, I'm with her. Why not?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Although Kate's regretting not saying yes to the kitten, because the kitten would probably be preferable and safer than the land shark.
Yeah. Clint being like, oh, you know, the first time he bites something that isn't a supervillain, he's out.
Yeah.
That got me good.
I like panels in the background of her like, oh, who's a good shark? You're a good shark. Yes, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
This is pretty much everything I like from this book. You know, Fuse being awkward because it's her ex-boyfriend that's showing up. Also kind of funny.
The plot is very kind of just by the numbers, almost like you say predictable to a degree, but it's fine because it's all the banter and the character dialogue that makes the book what it is and has the charm.
This reminds me of a good TV show, like a good network TV show where the plots are just kind of whatever. Is what I'm here for is the characters and how they are with each other, and
Yeah,
that's what makes it work. That's what makes it all click.
yeah. I'm still kind of weirdly enjoying Gwenpool.
I'm thinking Gwenpool.
Like the bit in her interview, it's like, I need a love interest because otherwise I'm just I could just be a supporting character. And how far is it from that to just being a red shirt? it just cracked me up.
And it cuts to Quentin at that point, actually, also in the interview, and he says, "She said what?" And of course, it bothers me that someone that I care about is a nutcase. And I'm like, because I was expecting him to just like say, "Oh, she's a nutcase. We're not in a romance. What are you talking about? We kissed. Big deal." And instead, he's like, "No, I care about her, but she's a goddamn nutcase."
It's a complete break of reality, I think it was. Yeah.
So yeah, Marvel Boy tries to tell them that the world's going to end, so he has to, get them to assemble. And I love the panel where they all just turn and stare at him. Even the land sharks kind of like looking at him, kind of like, "No, piss off. It's rest time. We've had enough." And then of course he just asks if he can sleep with her, and she's like, "Nope, couch."
And he's like, fine, that'll do.
I don't think he's even acknowledged that Fuse exists yet, because Fuse is just kind of behind them going,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It's like he's just not acknowledging him. It's kind of funny. So also the supervillains arguing about methods. MODOK being like, "No, my land shots would have worked if it wasn't for your stupid magic." Or it's like, "Oh no, we should use my magic, not your stupid tech device."
Yeah. Yeah. And Graviton's there now because there was jokes about him earlier in the book.
Yeah, because Marvel Boy was pretending to be Graviton, and now the real Graviton's there. So
yeah, again, it's another one of those. Of course.
And of course, because I'm an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, and I learned about this character from that show.
We know who this is now.
All I can think about is Talbot, and I can shed a tear, and I'm like, "No, Talbot." We got a trailer for season 6 of that show though this week. That was good.
Oh man, it was good. I'm looking forward to it. Bring on the summer.
You never say that as well.
I don't. I really don't. It's such a rare thing for me to say, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. manages to get me to do it.
Yeah. No, this was delightful. I've loved every issue of this book, like more than I thought I would. Like this was a surprise when I gave it a try a few months ago. So no, issue 7 was on form. So this is the end of this little mini arc, and we're obviously jumping into whatever's next. But the team of villains has kind of solidified themselves as the West Coast. Was it Ministry of Evil, whatever they're calling themselves?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
I'm sure the hardcore Marvel fans are like, "No, it's West Coast. This thing that's a normal thing that we all say like that." Like,
yeah, we totally know what that is.
We'll learn it. It's fine. But today's not that day. So what are you giving it? What are you giving West Coast Avengers?
It's also getting an 8.
I'm going to 8.5. I'm going to up it a little bit. All right.
Fair enough.
We'll move on then to a number 1. So we actually had 4 Marvel books, which is a weird thing, but on to Peter Cannon Thunderbolt issue 1. This is from Dynamite. This is Kieron Gillen writing, Caspar Wijngaard on the art, and I actually think I got his name right.
It's how I would also guess it's said.
Yeah.
But it's probably not, because we both assume that, so we must be wrong.
If I go phonetically, it's just Wijngaard. But I'm sure it's not. I'm sure the J is either silent or just a straight up Y sound.
Yeah, it might be more of a Y.
Yeah. I can't even do that though.
Yeah, that's tricky.
That's if anything, that's harder than saying a J in this case. Anyway, so this is a new book which we're trying because Connor's a Kieron Gillen fanboy and we could not avoid it, basically. So
pretty much.
That's why. Why don't you tell them the premise of this book then?
The premise is that I had no idea what this is going in. Interestingly,
yeah, but you know now.
No. But I want to preface this by saying, going in, I literally didn't know what this book was, other than it was Gillen doing some sort of superhero. I had no idea who Peter Cannon Thunderbolt was. What some powers. I had no idea. Did you?
Oh no, I knew nothing.
Right. Okay. So that's this book does a good job of telling me who he is. He's a dick, right? Because this book opens with like an alien invasion, and they're destroying this city, and it's this this team of superheroes. So they go, "Come on, then, let's go and stop this." And he's like, why bother? Fine, I suppose I suppose I'll help. And he goes and suits up, and he kind of stops it pretty easily. He's like, "Yeah, just do this, do that," and then jobs are good. And he's very nonchalant about the whole thing, and then he basically so he gets towards the end, and he's like, "Yeah, do you know what? This doesn't feel right. I'm pretty sure this is the end of Watchmen. This was Ozymandias' plan."
Yeah, that's basically the scene. But he kind of realizes this whole thing because it's set up early on that the world was on the brink of a world war between three factions. It was the America,
US, Russia, and China.
It was like those three were about to be in a three-way war. Like the tensions were high. This team of superheroes is actually made up of characters from there's like the radioactive one is from China. I think one of them's from Russia. And it was setting up that, okay, they were on the brink of war, and this alien invasion is a way to bring everyone together, and even though there's been some casualties in this one city, it'll bring everyone together, and because of that, it's maybe worth the effort. It's so good that even I would have done it, and I didn't know, but I'm pretty sure a version of me did. And then he comes to the conclusion that whoever did this must be a version of him from another world, another Earth, another multiverse.
And then we cut to a guy watching monitors, and again, it reminded me of Ozymandias. This kind of like fortress in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Watching all these monitors. It not too coincidentally broken up into a 9-panel grid, I might add.
Yes.
He's there, and it's just here we go. Oh yeah, eventually someone will work it out, and I guess inevitably that would be me. I'm like, okay, I kind of like this dick.
I'm not completely sold yet.
That's fair.
I'm kind of lukewarm on this.
I like the character enough in that he's just a dick.
See, that's the thing I'm really lukewarm on. I don't really like any of the characters yet. Like, I'm not sold.
I don't have any feeling on any of the others, really. I don't get enough of any of them.
I'm not sold on the personalities. I'm not sold on, like... because Die was the first Gillen book that I'd really read, and that kind of grabbed me. I liked the tone, I liked what it was doing. This one feels a bit more... Like, because you sounded like you were kind of impressed when it was basically doing, this is the end of Watchmen, right? When he has that realization. That, for me, kind of felt a bit weird. Like, I kind of felt like... I get the premise of this is basically like when he thought of this was like, okay, what if Ozymandias came to another Earth, but the Ozymandias on that Earth realized that Ozymandias from another Earth came here, and that's kind of the premise for what he's doing, at least for now, right? That was the core idea. But I felt kind of weird. I'm like, I don't know, like I don't know if I need like another take on this character. I guess.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I like that well enough, and I think part of the reason why I like it is it's very open about its influence here. In terms of using the structure of the 9-panel grid quite a lot. Because I saw. So obviously there was a meme, when Venom launched, how it better than Watchmen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Gillen tweeting earlier in the week going, "Hey, Donny Cates, got news for you. There's a new book that's better than Watchmen." And I just thought he was just, having some, banter with a colleague. And then I read it. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what he was doing. It's very intentional.
I felt oddly kind of numb at the end of it, where, like, it didn't really grab me beforehand. So then it had this hook at the end, and the hook at the end, it was like, okay, that was an okay hook, but it felt kind of bitter because I didn't really care beforehand. There wasn't like I like the thing I like the most about this is the radioactive hero that walks about in a hazmat suit until it's time to take it off to be radioactive. Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of amusing. The other one though, the one that's like dies after 2 weeks and then is just like respawned into a new body.
Yeah.
I don't know, and he's not got any hands.
Interesting concept.
Yeah, that to me went too far. It was kind of like sometimes in comics, I feel like because they keep trying to one up like previous designs and have something unique, they do something really ridiculous, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I get it. You're trying to make this character stand out in a world that's had so many like designs and concepts that it's hard to do something
It is, yeah.
right. But it so often there's examples for me, and this kind of falls into that where I feel like it goes too far, and it feels like they're trying too hard to do something really different and wacky.
That's fair. I don't disagree with that because a lot of the rest of them are actually quite relatively low key.
Yeah.
Right. It's a hazmat suit. The main suit's just it's a pretty standardish superhero suit. It's not doing anything special.
Yeah. That one stuck out to me as just being a bit too over the top in terms of
its concept. I think it does, especially in comparison to all the rest of them that are there, which look pretty standard.
Yeah. I find it hard to grasp anyone to like care about or like as of yet. Not that I'm saying that I'm not down to try some more and see where it goes, because I think I am, but I'm definitely quite lukewarm on it right now.
No, fair enough. I think I obviously like this. I don't. It's far from my favorite Gillen book. Because as I say, I don't really get a sense of any of the supporting cast really. I mainly just like, I like that it was just a straight up dick bag and was like, do you know what? Own it. I can get behind a character like that. And then I personally quite enjoyed the twist at the end, being like, okay, I see what this book is now. I understand what the story is going to be. It's, this battle between the two versions.
Yeah, I need someone to latch on to that I want to root for, and this guy I can't root for yet. There's nothing about him that I like.
No, that's fair. You definitely. I'm not rooting for it, even though, I mean, I kind of am inherently in that I assume he's the good one comparatively.
You would think,
because he's not doing the Ozymandias thing, but it doesn't mean that he is.
Yeah,
I really like the art. Like I really like the art throughout.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
It's very clean and stylish. Bold block colors for a lot of it. Action's got a nice flow.
I'm distracted for a second here. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we do a horror movie podcast called Screams After Midnight.
God, you gave Tim the Twitter, didn't you?
And there's a Screams After Midnight Twitter called @ScreamsMidnight, and Tim, my co-host, wanted access to the Twitter to post stuff. Now, he's not actually posted anything right now, but I just got a bunch of notifications that it's liked a bunch of Male Fuzz tweets, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is this happening? I'm not doing anything. Oh, it's Tim. It's Tim. For some reason, he's liking things, and I'm getting notifications.
He announced his ability to post on that Twitter in a glorious way.
Yeah, so I almost changed the password immediately.
That is how to give someone immediate regret.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, so check out the Screams After Midnight if you like horror movies. But Pure Cannon Thunderbolt is it's okay. Like I'm not sold on it yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
It feels like a lot of wacky concepts that someone like I can see people sitting around and like coming up with this. I don't know if it's been packaged into a very enjoyable, consumable story yet. But it may become that. It may become that after an issue or two.
We'll see.
Right now, I see a bunch of people going, hey, what if this happened? And what if this happened? And what if this happened? That's where I'm at.
Fair enough.
What are you giving it?
I'm giving it 7.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6. The look is bad. I just I found it hard to get enthused when I was reading it. But it's definitely fine written, fine art. So, but yeah, 6 out of 10. So we'll move on then to Skyward issue 10. This is the 10th issue in the Image series. This is John Henderson writing, Lee Garbett on the art. Although I've written Garbett with a typo, because I'm a silly sausage.
Shame on you.
So this obviously we talked about the first 9 issues back in I think the first episode of this show. This is, of course, the premise in which the world has lost all gravity, and we have giant bugs, and we have weird power struggles based on who's rich and can afford, gravity boots and other things. I say gravity boots; they're more like magnetic boots, I guess. But
basically, it's cool as shit.
So we ended last issue. Will and Edison found out that I forgot his name. The dude who runs this colony.
Barrow or the other guy.
No, the guy who runs this like
the farm.
The farm, yeah.
Oh, Oh God, I'm forgetting his name as well because he's been a significantly smaller part overall, even in this arc than I thought he would be.
Yeah, I mean he's important, but he's not been necessarily around as much. But he's got this plan where he's going to try and invade the city. And the last time they did this, it got the entire city killed.
Yeah,
But they're going to try it again. So Willa, despite the fact that she hates Barrow, who's like this evil corporate guy who's kind of responsible for her father's death, um, this farm have him captured. Her and Edison go to save him because they want to save him so that he can go back and warn everyone to get ready because they don't actually want everyone to die. So even though they hate his guts, they're going to help him, and that's kind of the plot of this issue. Is they're sneaking in to get him, they're breaking him away. Willa's got a fangirl who's like, "Oh, you're Willa, I love you. You're so great." But
yeah.
there's some fun stuff. She does this saving thing because Edison ends up fighting the guy from the farm, and Lucas, there you go, and she comes flying in with the wings on and saves him. Some fun stuff. But Lucas, again, to show you how dark he is, he actually destroys the farm. He sets it alight in an effort to say, okay, well, there's no going back there. We have to invade the city. We have to go. There's nothing else we can do.
Absolutely. And he gets weirdly dark with Edison. He's like, yeah, so you and Willa, hey, anything there? No? Oh, good. It's like, oh yeah. What if I said? What if I said there was? You gonna lock me up with Barrow? No. Sounded suspicious. Kind of was.
Yeah. So we end this arc where they actually send Barrow on his way back to the city. Obviously, they're not thrilled about this, but they're just doing it. And she gives the wings to him, or not the wings, sorry. He gets on the train so that he can go back to the city as well.
Yeah.
To try and prepare people to get his family to help, and fight back. And on the other hand, though, Willa goes off to try and to go towards was it Kansas, where she's going to try and get the gravity back on, because that was the whole thing from the first arc, is that there's her father figured out a way to fix the gravity, and she's going to go do that. But it is worth mentioning before she goes, they have a kind of a heart to heart where he reveals that he knows that that's what she's trying to do, which as we've talked about in the past is a big deal for him because he doesn't have legs, and there not being gravity kind of makes him feel like he's just like everyone else because no one's walking around.
Yeah.
It gives him mobility that he would otherwise not have. So, and he admits that quite freely, had she told him that he would have tried to stop her. But now it's the only way to save the city because everyone's going to die if they don't.
Yeah, so he kind of like, well, I guess it's better than being dead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you say that in a really selfish way. I think this is like, he is willing to sacrifice it for a greater cause, whereas before there wasn't necessarily a good reason for him to want to go along with it. But I think before he didn't necessarily see it as it has to be fixed because things are wrong because of that. But now it's like, no, they're all going to get murdered in the current system.
Yeah.
So, okay, you know what? I'll accept that me being able to float around isn't necessarily worth that price. And so we end the book with her running off on her own. She's alone again, so we end with her. There's a little note at the end actually from the writer talking about how plans for the next arc kind of changed a little bit because the original version of this ending of arc 2 was missing something. It didn't quite say what it was. It sounded like it was maybe the final reveal because there's a tease in the last page about someone else watching Willa. And I think the obvious assumption is to go to is that it's her mother who didn't actually die.
Yeah, that is the obvious.
Do you sound displeased by that? Are you upset by the possibility of that?
I think that's a little cliche, if it is that.
It's a little, it's a little cliche, but and I don't know if it's just because other stories like this always seem to go this way, that I'm just kind of accepting of it. Like, it's fine because
fair enough. It always bugs me a little bit. Like, I'll get over it if it is, but it always just annoys me a little bit.
I think I like it when it's done this way, where we find out first, and we can maybe find out the backstory of what she did and how she survived before we even get to like Willa finding out. So by the time they meet up, it's an established thing for us that we already understand where she is, what she's been doing, what's going on, that kind of thing. But no, I'm excited for arc 3 though. I'm excited for her like going to try and save the world basically.
Oh, definitely. I have a slight gravity related question.
I'll probably not be able to answer, but go on.
So here at the end, she's doing moon jumps.
Yes.
Why is she coming back down?
I assume she had something that let her do that. Something she took from the farm, maybe.
Fair enough. I never got that impression.
Well, it's been established so much that she can't, that anyone just the jumps would just go flying. That I can't imagine this is an oversight.
Right, but that's why I felt like it was weird to not have it addressed. Like, I don't know. This was weird to me. Because that's like the last couple of panels is her doing the moon jumps. So yes. I was like,
well, I mean,
what?
This is the thing. I assume that she has something that's later coming back down.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it would be ridiculous if she didn't, because it's been clearly established that
it would.
How
but
it works
the whole thing has been outside is a terrifying place for people because they can just go up. Open sky is very dangerous.
Yes.
So this felt weird to not address that. Oh no, she's got something that's pushing her back down. Like, because I can't see. She's just there. She's running, and then she jumps, and I'm not seeing anything. So this it took me out of it a little bit at the end. I mean, thankfully it was right at the end, but it was weird.
It might make more sense at the start of the next issue. We might see how she was doing it. But no, it's one of those things where like it's such a blatant thing that there's no way this is just a mistake.
I would hope not, but it was just weird to not see it addressed in any way. That I mean, maybe I missed something. It's possible, but it stuck out as weird to me.
I mean, it could be a. No, that wouldn't work. I was going to say it's about the angle of which she's jumping, but she would still keep going. She would just go at an angle. She would arc back down.
Yeah, that's my thing.
No, I am trusting that that's not a mistake, because it would be the most ridiculous mistake ever. That'd be like if I don't know. Let me think of an example. That'd be like if in the third Back to the Future movie, the DeLorean jumped time at 40 miles per hour and no one mentioned it. It just did it.
Yeah, it would be weird.
Be like,
I feel like I'm gonna have to tweet a couple of people here and just ask what's going on, because I'm kind of confused.
But yeah, I actually quite like the visual of it though. I like the visual because she's going on foot. She doesn't have anything to like help her go. Which she knows is dangerous, but like I kind of like that element of it, the danger of her just going off on her own to this dangerous city that's filled with insects, in the hopes that she can try and turn the gravity back on. Conceptually, I've loved everything about this book. So
yeah, it's been great.
So I'm still super into it. So this was the end of book 2. I think there's like a month or 2 off, right? Maybe 1 month off.
I just checked actually. The next issue, according to Comixology, at the moment is releasing 20th of March. So that's 6 weeks.
Oh yes, it's the end of March. Yeah, or the end of January. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually technically skipping a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's not much of a gap though.
No. Typically with these Image books, where between arcs, the standard rule is 3 months off. So only having one off feels quite short comparatively.
No, but that's cool. What are you giving this issue then?
I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8 as well. Yeah, I've been loving this book. I'm excited for more. I do kind of get the feeling this is going to be a shorter book than some of the other books of this style. I get the feeling this may only be like 4 or 5 arcs. Quite
possibly. I'm alright with that.
Yeah, I feel like we're ramping up though. I feel like we're like getting into this next section. Like she's actually going off to try and fix it. I mean, unless it fails miserably and it sets up a whole new strand to go down, it feels like
I mean, when that note at the back when they're talking about something was missing, we had to change this thing. It feels like they kind of just got a whole extra arc out of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, like the end of that note is it's called "Fix the World" and it changes everything.
Yeah, which could theoretically lead to like it's a much longer story. We just haven't got the scope of it yet because this will fail and then or maybe we get like a second phase where gravity's back on, but because it was off for so many years, all these things.
How do we cope in that world now? Yeah.
There's things to do. But yeah, that's Skyward. And that'll take us on then to Quarter Mage. Issue 6 came out this past week, but of course we're kind of talking about the whole thing. Jeff Lemire writing, Wilfredo Torres on the art. So this is kind of the Black Hammer version of the Legion of Superheroes in a way. It's set in the future.
Yeah.
I actually want to go back
It's in the future. It's a team inspired. A lot of them
yeah.
inspired by hero the Black Hammer Age heroes.
Some of whom are descendants, of course, as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going back to check something from the first issue because I got confused after a while. I think I might have misread a number at the start.
Oh,
No, I didn't. I feel like every time they referred to anything later on, it felt like it was 100 years later. But the year at the start is 3041.
yeah, you're right. I mean, because I assumed all the years earlier and later were based from then. That 3041.
Yeah, but that's not the earliest part of the timeline, though. That's the present
No,
day.
that's true. True. The 1,000 years seems more likely, though. Like that fits better.
But based on the structure and technology of the world, sure. But like at one point, you know, our current Black Hammer like shows up and says, "Oh, I'm your great great grandmother," and I'm like, "Just great great," in 1,000 years.
Yeah,
And then I think later on one of our characters mentioned something like, "Oh, over the past 100 years," and I'm like, I don't know. There was a lot of lines of dialogue later that made it feel like it had only been about 100 years since the present day stuff that we're familiar with.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I wonder if they changed their mind.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it is a little weird that you mention it.
It's not a big deal. Like the story still obviously works, but it's just kind of a weird point.
This might be something that's changed in the trade.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I wonder if that's just a typo essentially. that number in the first issue, it was meant to be like 2142 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
As opposed to 3042.
Yeah.
But yeah, so honestly, so I like this 6 issue mini a lot. This had a lot of great stuff in it. I think my only real complaint, other than that possible mistake, is that I did feel like we had the same cliffhanger 3 issues in a row. I don't know if you felt this as well, and I think this is because
here's a character you know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I read all this today and it was all back to back, but issues 3, 4, and 5 all ended with here's a character from Black Hammer.
Yeah, no, I felt that as well.
And it got to the point as well where I was anticipating that, like, even in the second one, issue 5, or issue 4 rather, when it was getting towards the end, I was like, this feels like it's building up to a reveal of who this character is.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one, I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, the first one was great.
The second one, I was like, okay, I really like that this character's here. It makes sense with what we're doing.
It could have used an issue in between, you know.
Yeah. Then the final one, I was like, okay, we're just doing another one.
Yeah, don't worry. Skype's
Even though I like them showing up.
Skype's just acted up. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Okay.
Calm down.
Skype's a dick.
Skype is a dick. Yeah, no, like I liked everything it did with these characters. It just kind of felt like the cliffhanger was the same 3 issues in a row. But other than that, I mean, it's relatively minor because I liked everything it did with the characters conceptually.
Yeah.
You know, you've got this weird thing where it paints this like horrible image of the future, and it has these weird implications of where some of the characters end up from Black Hammer.
It does in a very interesting way, though.
Yeah. So very curious, but so basically we get this 2 time periods that are 25 years apart, where the what are they called? The Quantum League.
Quantum League, yeah. The
Quantum League are active, and you've got Hammerlass, who's like the current Black Hammer. You've got the Gravity Boy and
Gravity Boy. You got Herb.
You got Herb, who's like this alien that can explode, and you've got your Brainiac 5 knockoff. You've got Archive 5.
Yeah.
And you have finally the one who becomes
Modular
president.
Girl?
Oh, well, you got Modular Girl, yeah. But I was thinking,
yeah, Gravity Boy is the one who becomes president.
That's right. So they all become so they're this team of heroes, but then this big bad thing happens where there's this giant explosion. And it's actually the Martians invading, which leads to aliens being outlawed and basically hunted down by humans on Earth. It's straight up Gestapo style, and we actually don't find out who's president until quite late in the series. That's like issue 4 or 5. We find out who the president is.
No, we find out at the end of issue 2 because that's the second issue cliffhanger, and I remember this distinctly because these are the 2 I'd read the first 2 issues before today.
Okay, well, this is the problem with reading all 6 issues back to back. I assumed that reveal was much later.
No, because the second issue ends with them being to the Martian being like, "Hey, you're gonna have to help us kill the president," and he turns around and he goes, "Oh, no matter what, Gravity Boy has to die."
Yeah, because I mean, it makes sense actually. Now that I'm thinking about, because issues 3, 4, and 5 are all the return characters, cliffhangers. But we have to mention that Martian is this younger teenage Martian who, you know, he's the descendant kind of I don't know if he's the direct descendant of Barbalian, but he's Barbalitine, or how you pronounce how are you pronouncing this in your head?
Kind of how you were then.
Because the way I said it there kind of rhymes with Barbalian, although I thought it was easier to say Barbali or Barbalitine, you know, which obviously I don't think was what he's going for, but it felt
no, I was going with the first one you went with.
It felt easier to say, though. The first time I read it, because of the hyphen, it felt like that. Fair
enough.
But, I mean, whatever. It's fine. Doesn't really matter. So he tries to recruit Hammerlass. He wants to reassemble. Well, he just wants help, basically.
Yeah.
And this leads to Modular Girl and Herb like picking him up and saying, "Hey, we're recruiting you because you want to help."
Herb is delightful.
Herb is pretty good. And they go on this mission to try and find Archive 5, which we get, because one of the neat things it does is it gives you backstory to characters right after in the issue where they become most relevant. So after the first issue, we learn about who this alien teen kid is. We get his flashbacks in issue 2, which leads to his motivation for wanting to like help here and wanting to kill the president. And then you get to issue 3, you get more flashbacks of the you know, Gravity Boy who becomes president and has the kind of his origin and his relationship with Modular Girl. And ultimately, we in the issue where we I think it's the issue where we get the reveal at the end that it's actually Talkie-Walkie, who is Mother. That's the one with the flashbacks of Archive 5 leaving the computer hive, if you will, to go and learn about humanity.
Yeah, I think it follows on, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're right. You know, it has that at the end, because it's all framed with Archive talking to Mother.
Yeah.
Throughout the issue.
So we don't know who he's talking to outside of it. It's, you know, it's just a computer that he came from. And then at the end, it turns out, no, this is Talkie-Walkie. And that was a big deal, that cliffhanger. I was like, oh, shit.
I was like, shit. And you know, he's looking pretty big there.
I think what's impressive about this is that it has all these implications for what happens to Black Hammer characters eventually. But because Lemire's kind of like doing the whole thing himself, I trust that it's not going to be something he like messes up with later. Like,
yeah, what Lemire's done is he's gone, these characters have a definitive ending in the Black Hammer story.
Mm-hmm.
These ones here, there's lots of other stories we can tell in between.
Yeah, it's just because I feel like my normal worry with stuff like this in the future, with flash forwards to things, especially with characters that are in the present day stuff, is that you then have to like adhere to whatever you've done in the future. And if you've set up that they're in this bad place, like I worry that later on they have to kind of retcon things or wiggle out of it, or they're forced to this things. But because Lemire's doing the whole thing himself, I mean, I know he's got some guest writers coming in to do some other things that are side stories, but he's still.
I'm sure he's given an outline.
Yeah. But he's running the whole thing. He's doing the whole thing himself, and I feel like I trust him here that this is fine with whatever he knows, because he knows where Black Hammer, the main book, is going. So I'm sure he knows what he's doing here with this stuff.
Yeah. What this tells me is, as a universe, we're not going to stick on just that handful of characters. Obviously, we've been doing all the minis anyway, but we still consider that the main book, right?
Yeah.
I think that we're not going to be doing that for too long. I think we will have. Maybe one more series after Age of Doom, kind of, and do all 3 books with that group.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. Like I could see it being like that. I could see it being a bit longer with them. Like I could see that stuff amounting to like 50 issues total between all like maybe 4, 12 issue books or whatever it is. And that'll always be looked at as the main Black Hammer book, even if it does continue past that. I think what this tells me is that characters like Talkie-Walkie and then Colonel Weird and then Madame Dragonfly, is that those characters are kind of separate from the others, because I think it's very clear from this mini now that Abraham Slam, what's her face,
Gale
and Barbalian, that those are the more like traditional characters who are going to have an ending, right? They're going to have a story that concludes in the main book at some point, but that could still be another 30 issues, 40 issues from now.
It could, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, there's still all the younger days of those heroes to explore.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Should they decide to. Obviously, we've been just creating a bunch of other heroes. I like that this one's doing legacy characters.
Hmm.
It's a nice touch, when while adding in new ones as well. Obviously, we've had some of the other books that have all been just original side stories.
Yeah. So issue 5 was mainly them begging to get like Archive 5 woken up from the hive, essentially.
Yeah,
And it's actually Colonel Weird at the end who comes in and kind of finally convinces Talkie-Walkie to do it. And I did kind of chuckle because he's like, "Oh, I did it 5 minutes ago. I just wanted, I just wanted to mess with you, basically."
yeah, yeah,
But so issue 6 is them going on this mission to try and assassinate the president, and then it fails miserably, and then turns out this is a simulation. This has not worked. They've tried thousands of simulations, and they've not worked. Archive 5 is telling them it can't be done.
yeah.
So Colonel Weird at the end of issue 5 also went to get Madame Dragonfly, who was going by Madame Butterfly for a while, although he kind of calls bullshit on everything, and she kind of reverts back.
And she's got a very Swamp Thing-esque sort of thing going on.
Yeah. And they basically show him, say, "Hey, okay, you can't do this, but we found another way. We can't go back in time because that was one other plan that was suggested."
Yeah, and he's very Dr. Manhattan-esque in the way he sees time. It's like, no. I can see all the way through here, there, whatever. It can't be changed. It's just how it is.
He's kind of like Dr. Manhattan if Dr. Manhattan was always on acid.
Yeah. But then it gets to the point of, I can't see past this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
So they actually go to the future till after the president is dead, and basically the world's a wasteland, and they're just going to build a new. And they quite rightly say, "But what about all the people who we want to save? The reason why we want to even do this is because there's thousands and millions of people who are under this tyrannical rule who want a better life." It's like, well, we'll bring them with us.
Yeah, like it's just this obvious thing.
Yeah, well, we'll basically make an arc. You can take them to the power zone, protect them, shield them with the hammer bubble, and we'll bring them in the future. And the book kind of ends with them, like, they go through first themselves to see the wasteland, and like, well, when do we start? And it's like, we already have. And it's got this kind of hopeful ending, even though like they're just kind of circumventing and basically just stealing all the innocent people out of time is the plan.
Yeah, and they're going, oh, and this, so this is the end and the beginning, and they call it "This is Quantum World." So I can see us getting a follow-up.
I can see that, yeah.
Called the Quantum World.
I could see that. I mean, the characters, as per usual with Lemire's books, were pretty likable for the most part. Most of the main team I'm kind of into. Airball was like talking in the third person. Was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially when the other characters got annoyed and like would say it back. I was like, "Oh, Herb is pissing me off."
Was it just me that was hearing Bug's voice from Young Justice?
Whose voice?
Yeah, Forager.
A Forager. Yeah. No, I wasn't hearing that.
I think it was the red kind of armadillo shell-esque look that Herb has, along with the third person. I was just hearing that voice.
I don't think I was thinking that. I was definitely getting like a small alien voice. I don't know what I was specifically thinking of though.
That's fair.
Bizarrely, it might have been like a similar comic book character that I've heard a voice in my head for before, but not necessarily something from a movie or a TV show that.
No, I get it. Usually that's the case. I mean, this is only because that was so fresh in my mind after these last couple of weeks.
Because I feel like if I like break down all the voices I hear in my head for characters, there's very few that are unique. I think there's probably like generic English accent I hear in my head for English characters. There's probably generic this accent for these type of characters. There's generic old man voice. There's generic old woman voice. Like I don't know how many unique characters I have. There's some, obviously Joker. I hear Mark Hamill because he's kind of just taking that. But yeah. So I think I've got like a funny small alien voice in my head.
I get it.
That works. I
get it.
But that really matters. So it's got this hopeful ending, and I could totally see us coming back to these characters at some point and seeing how this goes. I kind of want to see the reaction of the president, because it's one thing to be overthrown and killed, it's another thing to just realize that all the people you were ruling over have all just disappeared.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Like, what was the reaction to that? What does him and his army do when it's like, oh wait, there's...
It's actually really interesting that there is no final conflict, right? There is none of that. There is no attempt at redemption. It's like, screw it, let's just circumvent the whole thing.
So I mean, it's funny actually because I was almost thinking about Watchmen again. I was thinking, is this almost a critique? Like, no, this is how you get. This is how Manhattan should have got around the whole thing. You just take everyone into the future.
I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, let's be fair. This book, or this franchise as a whole, is riffing on so many things, Watchmen included. That
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
it can kind of get away with that. At this
yeah,
point.
I mean, Barbalien's as a take on Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Gale's a take on Shazam. Abraham Slam is a take on kind of
Thor meets Superman.
I was gonna say Captain America meets Superman, but because Black Hammer's like Thor meets
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
something else. Colonel Weird is kind of Doctor Manhattan, but also kind of Adam Strange.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
This
that
whole
going on.
team is kind of the Legion.
Yeah. So it's doing all these things. Yeah.
And then you've got Archive, which is just brainy, just straight up brainy.
It is worth mentioning though. We've only read up to issue 5 of Age of Doom because that was the end of the arc. We're going to read the 3 issues after that plus Cthulhu's before the new issue of Age of Doom. So if there's anything in this that actually kind of directly ties into something that was mentioned in one of those issues, we wouldn't have caught that. We'll find that out when we read those books.
Yes, and we will mention it when we get to those.
Yeah. So obviously with Black Hammer we've done a lot of catch up when the new issues have been coming out because we have been behind. But luckily after this next Age of Doom issue, it comes I think next month.
Yeah, we'll be up to date entirely, and then we'll be in on the new series at 44. The next series
45.
45. Ah, damn it.
Yeah, Black Hammer 45 issue 1, which is confusing to say, but
yeah,
that's starting in April, I think, either March or April.
around then.
So, that was good. It's hard to talk about this show on its own because I just read all 6 of them, but
yeah, it's very hard to distinguish because I reread the first 2 anyway because it's been a while. I think as an individual issue, I think it's quite a strong. I think all of them are quite distinct issues in that they have a focus. This last one, you got all the simulation stuff, like the attempt at the assassination,
which it doesn't tell you about. It's kind of a twist when you realize this wasn't real, but it kind of works thematically because the whole point of the ending is no, we're going to circumvent the fight. So the fact that the fight turned out not to be real, and then that instead of doing that, let's just do this other thing.
Yeah, and it got to have its cake and eat it too, in the sense that we saw the fight on some level, right? We got some of that in the book, so that worked really well. And then you get the ending's quite strong, and I really like that final page of the team all kind of stood there together.
Yeah, so
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the entire miniseries is probably like a 9, but I mean,
I'm going to give it an 8.5 just for the repetitive cliffhangers.
That's fair.
It bothers me, and not just in this, in other mediums as well. I really hate repetitive cliffhangers.
Yeah, that's fair. The art was pretty. We never mentioned the art that much. It felt very in style with the main book. I thought the art.
Did you?
Whereas some of the other ones, like I think, Sherlock Frankenstein felt very different. Like some of the other ones have felt different.
This is much cleaner, classic superhero almost.
Yeah. So that's felt more in line with that book, but. Yeah. All right. So that actually wraps up the books of the week, which means we can pick our favorites. Today we do our favorite panel/moment. We do our top 5, best art and all that sort of thing, best cover. So obviously only issue 6 of Quantum Age counts for this, just so that it can be involved. But I think that's cool. So what is your best panel/moment?
I am actually going to use the end of Quantum Age 6. That final page with the team I really liked.
That is.
It's kind of an easy answer.
It kind of is. That's totally fair. I think I will go with. I was tempted to go with something Skyward, but I think I'm going to go with that panel from West Coast Avengers, where honestly, just that whole page where Kate is like using the sign language to tell Clint what she's about to do. I really like that page.
No, that's good.
Because he was aware that she's got a plan, and it's just kind of like her acting it out, and it was just fun plotting. So I'm gonna go with that. So best cover of the week.
So I'm gonna do. It's one of the variants for Peter Cannon. It's the Wijngaard cover.
There was like 7 of the bloody things.
5. Yeah. So it's technically it's cover E, but it's the one by the main artist of the book. So that, as far as I'm concerned, that's like the second main cover.
I want to give a shout. This is not my pick, but I want to give a shout to Skyward for these covers because I like the simplicity of their covers. There's a nice.
They are nice, yeah.
There's a nice like, sort of set of them where if you look at them all as a whole, they're very nice and simplistic. This one's just the explosion of the farm, with it just mostly it being the sky and the fire's quite low down the image. I actually really like that. What I'm going to pick though, it's an easy pick and it's kind of a cheap pick, but honestly, Alex Ross did Captain America. It looks really good. It's Captain America being arrested with a spotlight over his head.
It is very good. I'm not going to argue.
You know, he does light shining off the material really well. You know,
yeah.
Alex Ross. It's really pretty. So that's what I'm picking. Best art of the week though.
Skyward.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Garbett.
Nah, I'll agree with that. I like Skyward's art a lot. If anything's competing, it's probably either West Coast Avengers or Quantum Age. Those are probably the ones that are sticking out in my head.
I agree with those being the highlights.
So, all right then. Well, going through quickly. What's your top 5 books of the week?
Oh God. Number 1 is probably Quantum Age 6. If I'm separating it. 2 West Coast Avengers, 3 Skyward, 4 Captain America, and 5 Peter Can Thunderbolt.
Cool. I think my number 1 is probably West Coast Avengers, and then Quantum Age issue 6, and then Skyward, then Captain America at number 4. And then number 5, Amazing Spider-Man, I guess. Yeah, that just kind of slots in there at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that more than Peter Can and Thunderbolt.
No, fair enough.
And I definitely like both of those more than Age of X-Man.
Yeah.
So, you know, there you go. So yeah, that was our rankings this week. So I'll tell you what's coming next week on the show. If I scroll back up, because we were looking ahead at things. So next week on the show, assuming there's been no delays, although I'm sure Connor's going to double check on Diamond as I'm doing this.
I'm going to see what I can, because obviously there's a lot to check here.
So we have Avengers 14, Immortal Hulk number 13, Uncanny X-Men number 11, X-23 number 9, Daredevil issue 1 by Zdarsky. We got Wolverine the Long Night issue 2, Conan the Barbarian issue 3, Star Wars 61, Star Wars Anakin Skywalker issue 1. Is that an Age of Republic thing?
It is, yeah.
I've just not written down the full thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I probably got sick of doing that. We have Champions issue 2, which we'll definitely give a try and see how it's developed since issue 1. We do have Age of X-Men, the Marvelous X-Men issue 1, although, you know, maybe. We'll see. We've got Old Man Quill issue 1, which we'll try. We have the Gunhawks issue 1. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I'm sure we wrote that down and I didn't check what it was.
I don't know. Shall I have a look?
If we did, I don't remember what it was.
Say Gunhawks.
Yes, the Gunhawks issue 1.
Oh, here it is.
What is
it? It's oh, this looks like another one of those one-shots.
Oh, really? Okay. So if someone gets cut,
so. It's a Western book.
Okay, right. That one is a maybe then. That may not get done. And then that Uncanny X-Men Winter's End issue 1 shot is out next week as well. So the one shots, are maybes for sure.
Yeah, I'm just looking elsewhere. I'm noticing there's a new Red Sonja book next week.
Is there?
Yeah, from Mark Russell, who is the quite acclaimed coming off of Flintstones.
Hey, he's doing Wonder Twins, I think. That's
yeah.
Him? Yeah. Also, not from Marvel, we have Die issue 3 and Sonic the Hedgehog 13. So that is roughly what you can expect next week, although as always subject to change one way or the other.
Yes, I'm just trying to check to see if any of those have been moved, but it's really hard to go. This is way easier on the DC show where I just have to look at one section.
Well,
Yeah. I think that is everything.
Cool.
And I don't see any obvious things that have moved.
Well, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's been episode 5, I think. No, 6. This is episode 6 of Elsewhere on the Multiverse. So what is left to do but to pitch you things and tell you where else you can find and where else you can enjoy our content. You can, of course, check out our DC Comics podcast, Comics from the Multiverse, which is me and Connor plus Matt. And he wasn't in the last episode, admittedly, but it's usually the three of us, and we talk about DC Comics every week. You can also get us on Television from the Multiverse, which is me and Connor talking about DC TV shows. So that's the Multiverse family of content, which you can find obviously on our YouTube page, youtube.com/MailFuzzTV. Along with a bunch of other stuff, we do TV reviews, we do movie reviews, that kind of thing. A lot of stuff there. There's audio feeds for the vast majority of our content. If you go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you'll get a link of all those audio feeds. But of course, you can also support us there for as little as $1 per month, which also supports us in addition to liking, subscribing, all that kind of thing, rating us on the iTunes or your podcast app of choice. You can also buy merchandise now from us. There's links in the description to both the US and UK stores. There's no Elsewhere-specific merchandise. If you would like Elsewhere-specific merchandise, if you just say in a comment, I'll add it. Like, it's really easy to do.
Yeah. Comment, tweet.
Yeah.
Facebook. Wherever, we'll see it.
You can tweet at us, of course, at DC Comics Podcast. I know it's weird because this is not a DC Comics show, but that is the flagship show of the line. So that's why the Twitter's named after that.
It's the longest running.
Yeah. So you get me on Twitter at Wibble89, get Connor at ConnorRyan94. I won't ask him to say it himself because he'll get confused for 10 seconds and it'll just drag out the show.
I do have to look at it every time.
So that is our Twitters, but I think that's everything. So thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading comics, keep reading Marvel comics, but remember that assembly is required.